Good morning, Sunday morning. It's me, Esther, just sitting here outside, 6 a.m., listening to the birds and pretending that everything's normal for a couple of minutes. And it's strangely comforting to think that that's possible. And to think that it's like any other Sunday morning, sitting outside with a cup of coffee and a book and my iPhone and listening to the birds. And yet it's anything but a normal Sunday. And I just wanted to share a few thoughts and just connect and say good morning and just share that I've been reading a book yesterday all day, and it was a very interesting book. It was basically, this is the book right here. It's called Garden of Riches, and it's a practical guide to financial success by Rabbi Shalom Arush. And I'm not sure why I chose this book of all books, but possibly because of what's going on in the world, in the financial situation that we're all experiencing and seeing and fearful of. And it's a really incredible book. I really highly recommend it. And I was reading a part where there was a story about this rabbi, this Torah scholar, that had gotten into debt, and he was trying to get out of debt, and how what he did was he took it upon himself to pray for an hour a day, just personal prayer to God, to talk about his debts and take responsibility, and to pray for the dissolution of his debts and to try and pay it back day by day. And every single day for a year, he prayed for an hour. And by the time a year was up, he had cleared up his debts. He was in a better situation financially. And while that's all wonderful, to me, I wasn't happy with that time frame. I thought, well, a year is a really long time. I would have expected, especially in a book like this, about a Torah scholar with huge amounts of debts, some dramatic ending to where he prayed for, a week, and then he found a golden treasure in his backyard, or, he prayed for, 30 days, and somebody came along and, I don't know, bailed him out somehow, or hired him, or some kind of grand finale of him praying for, 30 days or a week or so. And when I was reading of his slow and steady process of just prayer every single day for an hour, talking about his debt, talking about his financial situation and asking God for help, and after a year, how things worked out for him, that just, I couldn't find anything right with that. Until I realized that the moment he started his personal prayer every day, that was his salvation. It was just the connection that he needed, and that was the route that it came for him. And his daily connection in personal prayer for a year was his salvation. And yes, at the end of the year, he did get his financial goal, but he also had the daily goal, which was the process. And of course, it had me thinking about the situation we're all in right now, where we don't know the end date. We know it's not going to be forever, but we don't have an end date. And I think that's what's making people so uncomfortable. It's making me so uncomfortable. It's making all of us uncomfortable. Like, when is this going to be over? And we don't know the answer, and nobody has the answer. And that brings us to, well, what do we have right in front of us right this moment? So what process can we have? What can we do? And it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I know as a writer, if I'm in a situation where things are challenging financially, it's really hard for me to be creative. So maybe I don't have a job, but I have the time to write, but I can't be creative because I'm too nervous about my finances. So it's like, once I have work, then I can't work on my own projects, because yes, I have the money, I have the job, but I don't have the time. So here we are in a situation where we're forced to take a look and be, so to speak, creative with our lives and ourselves. And at the same time, we're scared. How can you be creative with your life and do your own introspection when you're so scared? So when I was reading this book and reading about how he did an hour of personal prayer a day, I realized like that was such a great process of just having that time to connect and to feel comforted for that hour. And that leads to maybe an hour after that where there's some comfort and some calm, where a person can think straight and can plan or can have some insight into where they're at, or what they want to think about, or how their intention for the day with whatever we're going through. So just some food for thought. And on the same note, I was reading about, everybody has advice now, and I was reading about this military person that was writing about his experience in the military, and he was on a submarine. And he said, I was on a 6-month submarine, trip for the military. And until our mission ended, these are the things we did to help us, And he listed a bunch of things that, many moms have listed on Twitter, and many gurus and people and rabbis and all of us kind of know, take time to meditate and take some time for yourself and do some workout and, still try to eat healthy and get some fresh air and, call people and do introspection. And, he was really listing nothing really insightful that wasn't already put out. At the same time, I was thinking, well, he had an end date to his mission. I mean, it is the military after all. They were like, you're going to be in this submarine for, 6 months and 2 minutes. So I feel like we're in the situation that we don't know the end date. So we can just accept that and give ourselves some slack and know that what we're going through is so normal when we don't have an end date ahead of us. So maybe we can just focus on the process right now. And I would say it's cold outside. It's 34 degrees. And I'm sitting in my car because I don't want to wake anybody up inside. The last thing I want to share is that I remember during a very hard time in my life, which wasn't that long ago, I was struggling with some things, and I was trying to figure out in my head, how to solve these problems. And I really couldn't. I didn't know the end date. And I took I made the decision to stay curious as opposed to fearful. And in my head, it was, I'm curious, like, what is my next job going to be? I'm curious, who is going to be, my soulmate? Like, who is he? I'm curious. I'm curious about, what school my daughter will go to, because she's not going back to her old school. And I know in September she's going to be in school, and it's now, July. So I'm curious, what school will she end up in? And yes, I know I had to do the work and take the necessary steps, but I took the words that I used in my head was like, I'm curious how this will end. I'm curious how this will be resolved. And it's a much more calming thought than, I'm so scared, I wonder what's going to happen. So just try on the word curiosity and see how it fits. And that's pretty much it for today. So best wishes to find a process that gives you comfort, even if it's just for a little bit. And like this book was saying, it's about a guide to financial success, but it can apply to anything. And that is take time for personal prayer. And the personal prayer itself is the goal. It is the end. So stay safe. And that's it for today.